welcome to episode 21 of the Courageous Coach podcast. A podcast where we pull back the curtain on what it really takes to be courageous with your clients, your business, and your life. I'm your host, Melissa Haig. In this episode, I'm joined by Diane Lloyd, a leadership coach and facilitator. Diane and I met through our Dare to Lead training with Brené Brown, and our relationship has developed into a beautiful and important friendship. We've been alongside each other as we've navigated our own courage-building journeys through all the highs and the messy bits. My life and work is so much richer for having Diane in it. In this conversation, Diane and I explore the importance of vulnerability, self-compassion, and intuition in the coaching process. We chat about the challenges faced by midlife women and the need for empowerment in this group. So, are you ready? Let's dive in. Welcome to the Courageous Coach podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I'm joined by Diane Lloyd. So lovely to have you here. Thank you for agreeing to come on and be my guest. We're going to have a great conversation. Diane and I talk often, so conversations feel very natural, or they do for me anyway, very natural. So I'm hoping we're going to have a great conversation and it's going to flow very easily as we talk about all things courage. So Diane, welcome. So lovely to see you. It's always lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you.
Tell us, let's start as we always do. Tell us a little bit about you.
A little bit about me. Well, I'm in Canada. I'm on the West Coast in Victoria, British Columbia, but I'm a prairie girl in my heart. So central Canada, and moved out west, 26 years ago. So, I'm a leadership coach. I've been coaching in that space for 13 years, but have this like origin identity of coach because I coached synchronized swimming when I was in my teens and early 20s. I actually went to Australia and coached there. Thought that was going to be I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but that was going to be my career was, a synchronized swimming coach. Anyway, decided that was not potentially where my path was. So I had a great career in sport management and fundraising, and then discovered coaching at 43 and did the midlife shakeup of, I think coaching is what I've always been meant to do, but I had to get brave and leave the job that I was told, the things I was told were important, like good salary and a pension and status in the community, and walk away from that and pursue coaching, which is really, I think, my purpose. And so super grateful. And I do acknowledge that the hardest decisions that I've made always required courage, but they were always like the life-changing pivots. And so I love talking to you about courage today.
Yeah. Lovely. I never knew about the synchronized swimming thing. That's fascinating. I mean, I'm like, I did not know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think it's interesting to me because I know I like to start with what does courageous coaching look like for you, Diane? And I mentioned in the intro for this episode about how you and I met through the Dare to Lead program training with Brené. And I think actually I didn't say this in the intro, but we weren't in the same cohort, right? With
No.
Brené. We were in different cohorts, weren't we? And we came together after the program, both as facilitators and just, as I say, now we talk regularly and have been on that kind of journey, that courage building journey ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important, right? I think certainly for you and I is that it's been as much a journey for us in our kind of courage building, getting brave in our own lives, as it is supporting the people that we work with to be courageous. Yeah. So I still want to ask that question, what does courageous coaching mean to you? Because I'm kind of like, I wonder if it'll be the same as what it means to me. I don't know. So so tell me a little bit about what courageous coaching looks like in your work.
Yeah. And I was thinking about the the word work, because I think about it as like, how am I showing up as coach and how am I showing up as an entrepreneur, like the business side. So I think for me, courageous coaching in coaching
Mm-hmm.
for me now means not being afraid to explore emotions in coaching.
Yeah.
So being curious about, the emotions that are emerging in a coaching conversation for the coachee, and not, I think I was more hesitant before the Dare to Lead training to talk about shame or talk about grief or some of these harder emotions.
Mm.
And I'm not as tentative around that. And so I think that's where I'm braver, and to also challenge coachees to just be more courageous, to ask harder questions, challenge. I was probably, and maybe still have a bias of more of a cheerleading coach, like encouraging, positive, appreciative. And
Mm.
and now I'm more comfortable in dancing in both I call it the stretch and the support.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's made me a braver coach.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that hard emotions thing is an interesting one, isn't it? Because um I've always thought of myself as pretty, emotionally intelligent, self-aware, all of those kind of things. Um, but I think, like most human beings, there are certain emotions that are quite hard, very hard for us to manage and regulate and be curious about, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned some of them there, right? Shame, like grief.
Grief.
I mean,
Yeah.
right? Those are tough, right? That was certainly for
Yeah.
me, right? Tough emotions. But there's something about the courage to recognize it in yourself first, and to begin to potentially recognize and communicate it, name it with others. Because there's one thing about, I mean, if we took shame as an example, right? It's if we can't see it, feel it, recognize it in us, how do we recognize it and support others who are perhaps struggling with shame? So that hard emotions thing, that's a big
Mm.
part of the work, isn't it? The courage building work.
Yeah. And as you say that, I think one of the things I'm most grateful for from Dare to Lead is the empathy skill building.
Mm.
Not getting hooked into fixing, solving, saving, but being able to be curious about emotions and just hold that space for people to explore them. My empathy, I had so many misses with empathy in my life. I recognize now, and still do, and have to circle back. And wow, it has changed. That work has changed my understanding of empathy and how to show up with empathy
Yeah.
for others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
grateful.
I mean, I think empathy is, again, another big part of the work. But I think the thing that I really learned from doing Dare to Lead, and then, further into the courage building work, is this idea that empathy isn't about kind of rushing someone into the light,
Mm-hmm.
or towards the light. And I think, as a coach, it's so important that we are able to sit with the discomfort of difficult emotions, particularly in our client, obviously in our clients, so that, we can kind of essentially sit with them in the dark whilst
Mm-hmm.
they work through what they need to work through, rather than what can I do? What tool have I got? Or what technique have I got? Or how can I help them to move out of this
Yeah.
uncomfortable space?
Reframe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
reframe this. How could we
Yeah.
make this positive? Right.
Yeah.
And
Let's
it's
get
like,
us both out of this discomfort.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's brave coaching.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
I'm curious, you were curious if my definition was different. How do you think of courageous coaching in your work?
So I think similarly, right, there's this whole piece around our ability to be with the discomfort of vulnerability, ours and our clients, and letting go of the things you mentioned, right? Letting go of the need to know, letting go of the I've got it all together,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
embracing that kind of I'm messy, imperfect, and human too. And there's real courage in that, because I think when we engage in something, whether it's coaching or training or facilitation or leadership, we can approach those things with this feeling that we need to be in control or have all the answers or be able to fix stuff, or to be
Mm-hmm.
professional, or there's that word
Mm-hmm.
professional, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
means, right? And so we go in with, and that's just all armor, self-protection, as we would call it, right? It's
Yeah.
so yeah, there's something for me about I can be with vulnerability, but not just my client's vulnerability, but my own as well. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that the other thing with courageous coaching is the not knowing. I
Yeah.
mean, not knowing for me, not just in coaching, in life, not knowing for me has been my biggest, continues to be my biggest development area, being comfortable with not knowing. I am a knower,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a learned behavior, and I've had it, all my life. And just really slowly unpacking and being kind to myself around that, because in coaching, we are we're not there to know, and I like to know. So
Yeah. Yeah. Our
that
brain loves certainty,
yeah,
knowing, like, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we all want to be good at what we do, and add value and save the world. And so it's just, I think the whole not knowing thing for me is probably, well, I think in my own journey, the biggest step into courage as a coach is that not knowing, and sitting, as you say, sitting with that uncertainty and that vulnerability of just, I don't know, I'm not know, just asked a
Yeah.
question I don't know the answer to. It's just, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
similarly,
Yeah. There's
similarly.
such a strong connection, I think, between, powerful coaching or effective coaching, whatever label we want to put on it, and our own relationship and understanding of vulnerability. Just the way you're saying that, I think, is so profound. And, um, which is why everyone should take your courage program, because it makes you a better coach, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that, because I think the thing is that when I was doing my initial kind of coach training, if you like, my initial kind of coach development, they talked about, not knowing, and you don't have to have the answers, and you're not the expert in the room, and all of those things. And I was told those things, I was taught those things, but I didn't learn them. And do you know, just, do you know what I mean by the
Mm.
difference? Someone taught it
Hmm.
to me, but I didn't really learn it then.
Hmm.
And it wasn't really until I started, doing Dare to Lead, and then, courageous coaching work, that I was like, this is the unlearning for me. I've got to unlearn this. It's not enough to just know that that's what I should be doing, or I should be like. I've got
Yeah.
to unlearn this, and that requires some work. That requires some hard work, right?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
unlearning. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And
Yeah.
so that's interesting, actually, the unlearning. So
Hmm.
now I'm thinking about, oh, what else have I had to unlearn? And oh, I wonder what Diane might have had to unlearn.
Oh, so many things. that, that, yeah, perfection stuff. And as you were talking, I just had this flash of how this courage building work has served me, in this work I do with Royal Roads University here,
Mhm.
in teaching an executive coaching program, and how, like, what an arena that was for me to enter as a faculty member in the program that I was trained in. And so it was like this dream to be able to be part of this team. And then it happened. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm here. And so all that imposter syndrome, all of that stuff. And because I was in Dare to Lead so deeply through that, I was like, oh, this is vulnerability. This is your shame stuff showing up, Diane, all your worthiness, all the things. So it's like using all the tools to support me in that arena where I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel ready. Just like going to the training with Brene, didn't feel good enough. Someone's going to figure out I shouldn't be here. Like, how did I get in? These people are amazing. All of that stuff. And and just recognizing it's the discomfort of vulnerability. And I can move through that with self compassion and self belief, and And now I'm losing my train of thought, but it just is really making me feel super grateful to have,
Mm.
like, we teach the things we're meant to learn. So I think that's why Dare to Lead came my way, because I needed to sit in that curriculum like 40 times to feel like I can embody it in myself and truly live, you know, not all the time, but live more into my courage than my fear.
Yeah. So I mean, I chuckled and I'm chuckling internally as I was listening to you because I was thinking, oh yeah, I remember that, being sat in the room with all of these people and there's Brene and little old me, just little
Yeah,
old me
yeah,
doing the thing. But there's something really interesting in what you just said as well, because I think that I went to the Dare to Lead program with a kind of, there's a real sense here that I'm going to learn this I'm going to learn this amazing curriculum. It's going to be brilliant. And then I'm going to go away and I'm going to teach leaders to be courageous. That's going to be amazing. And which I now know was naive, but it really wasn't when I did, because most of the leadership development tools I trained in, that was what happened. You went along,
yeah,
someone
yeah.
trained you, and then you went and trained everyone else, right? And I, it sort of hit me like a bit of a brick wall during the training program, where I was like, oh, I think I've got to do this work myself
Uh-huh.
before I do it with other people, or I've got to do it whilst I'm doing it with other people. This is not about me being the expert. That was the first time. This is not about me being the expert in the room and having all the answers. So that whole thing around, who you are is how you coach, or who you are is how you
How you
lead.
lead.
These are real truths for me now, because I'm doing this work because, like, I love that you said that. I'm doing this work because it's the work I need to do as a coach,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, totally.
You've given me this flashback to being in that training. I mean, it was day 2, and you know how she talks about, like, day 2 is going to be a hard day, but
Yeah,
come back. And we're like, okay, come in day 2. And, all our stuff is under the table, phones, like all the distractions are
mm,
under the table. And I remember her talking about the concept of gatekeeping, like, watch out for gatekeeping. And just like you're describing, I was like, cognitively, okay, I understand gatekeeping. I guess she talked about that in day 1. So day 2, we're into the shame and we're going into all the hard stuff. And my brain kept telling me, you need to pick up your phone. You need to, like, look at your phone. The kids are texting you. Something's going on. My brain wanted to gatekeep me from the hard emotional experience. It was so visceral, because then I had that, oh, this is gatekeeping. Like, I want out of this. I'm so uncomfortable.
yeah,
So I'm going to
yeah.
distract myself with my phone. Yeah, it
That
was
is
so vivid.
super interesting, right? The whole, how do we keep, it's because it's how we keep ourselves safe. Our brain is trying to keep us safe from something it thinks is risky or dangerous, and that we need to move away from. But isn't it funny how it isn't always blindingly obvious, because our brains are actually quite clever, right?
Oh,
You
100%.
need to look at your phone, or
Yeah.
I've even had it where like, um, I really need to go to the loo. I went like 10
Yeah,
minutes.
your bladder.
I don't need to, but my brain's telling me I must leave the room and go for a wee.
Yeah,
It's interesting,
yeah.
isn't it? What our brains and our bodies do when we experience that vulnerability. It's kind of protect, move away, hide, run, and in some cases fight, right? Fight
Mhm.
back. And I notice that sometimes when I'm delivering the work, where it's often the case that, some people will struggle with certain topics, and the way that they deal with that struggle is, to resist it and argue with you and fight it. And and there's something about that's just your brain going, oh my goodness, this is scary, uncomfortable, discomfort, just get out. And
Yeah,
you meet that resistance, don't you?
yeah.
And people always ask me about, I don't, and you probably get the same, oh, what was it like to train with Brene? Right? Like, is she some sort of superstar or something?
Yeah,
Well, she kind of is, but my response is usually based around the whole kind. She's just a human being.
yeah.
Um, And really importantly, she certainly in my cohort, she kind of lives and breathes the work. She is the work. And I think that was the other thing that impressed me into thinking, okay, I just need to be the work. And,
Mm.
I don't need to be different from that. I don't need to be on the outside of it. I need to actually kind of be living it. And so it's been quite the ride. It's been quite
Yeah.
the ride.
Living it is a ride, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Because
Yeah.
we're not done, right? I am not now the courageous coach. I'm not, or the courageous human, or sometimes I am, and sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I choose comfort, and that's okay too, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, Diane, in terms of where you're at in your business. As you said, thinking about courage as an entrepreneur as well. And so I'm wondering what your call to courage looks like in that space right now.
Hmm. Well, I was just walking with a friend this morning and talking about the last year and how much transition I've experienced, and it came from hard things. Really, it was like a catalyst for change for me. Because one of the courageous things I've done is actually walked away from the Dare to Lead curriculum as Brene
Mhm.
changed her business model. I decided to, and intuitively, I'd been thinking, maybe Diane, it's time to create your own thing. So that happened, and I lost my brother kind of unexpectedly. And the grief journey, I said to my friend this morning, it's like the grief journey sort of wiped away these layers of resistance that I've had to really stepping into my purpose fully and being seen. So, and being, yeah, fully seen in my business. I've done a great job for the last 13 years of like hiding in my own business, like calling my brand a group, having associate coaches that I worked really hard to get work for. And yeah, kind of hiding in my own brand, and which sounds odd, but that's what I was doing. So now I've come to see how passionate I am about women in midlife, women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Mm.
And and I want to bring the hard things into the conversation for women. Talk about menopause, talk about patriarchy, talk about shame, talk about grief. And those experiences that we navigate shape us as humans. So, of course, they're shaping our leadership. And there's a lot of like invisible barriers. I think the perimenopause menopause journey is an invisible experience for many of us.
Mm.
And it's a big deal, but we don't talk about it enough. So I want to bring that conversation forward.
Yeah.
And we've all grown up in a patriarchal society, and understanding the social programming that we've been conditioned around and how that holds us back as well. Patriarchy loves it when we're totally hooked into our shame, because when we're hooked into our shame, we're comparing, we're competing, we're self berating. We are putting all our energy into that rather than putting our energy out into changing the world.
Mm.
So that's been fascinating for me to see in myself and now bring forward in my work. And I
Mm.
really like the world's not really going in the right direction. And so I really think midlife women could help course correct if we could fully access our power. So, yeah. So that's what I'm currently feeling brave enough to be and do.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm so excited, not least because I am a woman in midlife. So I'm like, it's amazing. But also because I think you're absolutely speaking to the heart of this, which is that, there's a lot of courage to 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 be yourself in
Mm,
midlife, right? This kind of
yeah.
claiming of ourselves, this kind of I almost kind of want to say, like, finding or claiming our identity. This is who I
Mm,
am, right?
yeah.
This is who I am. And some of us, I think, and I see this a lot with coaches as well. I think that some of us are kind of don't really know who we are yet. We've kind of, like you said, followed the rules, lived according to the rules of the patriarchy and all of that, and that sort of created this life, right? And some of us are going, well, don't
It did
know.
all the things,
Did it?
but
But
yeah,
it's not fitting. It doesn't feel right. Or actually, you know, I'm not actually that happy or whatever, right?
yeah.
And then you've got the real kind of, which is kind of sort of where I got to, is the whole kind of no, stop. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing
Mhm,
this. I'm fed up of trying to fit in. I'm fed up of trying to follow rules that don't work for me. And you know what? I'm going to do it my way. And the people who like it my way, you know, the people who I connect with and who get it and are, you know, that great. Come on in. Those of you who want to beat me down and, you know, be negative and no time. Thank you. This is, you know, so there's something of this idea of claiming us, claiming our identity, claiming who we want to be at a time when we are at our most vulnerable, in my view, because our bodies are changing. Stuff is not
mhm,
working like it used to.
mhm.
Things are happening to our bodies that, frankly, are debilitating and scary and annoying. Aside
Confusing,
that's
yeah, annoying.
confusing, absolutely. No one talks about it, you know,
Mhm.
and in many places it's still kind of like, oh, for goodness sake, not talking about menopause, are you? So it's such a melting pot. It's such a melting
Mhm.
pot. And so, as I've said to you on many occasions, I just think your program is so needed, so needed. But I hadn't taken it this step for or this next step in my thinking as you have, which is that if midlife women could step into their power, if they choose to step into their power, they are perfectly positioned to bring about the change that is needed in the world.
Mhm.
I mean, that blows my mind, totally blows my mind.
Can you imagine if midlife women were making big decisions globally?
Mm,
Wow.
mm. Such potential there, right? And I guess so. Do you, for you, and you're kind of stepping into, you know, this transition and owning your
Mm.
business? It's you. This is me.
Mhm.
Does that feel like stepping into your power?
Oh, what a great question. It really does. Yeah.
Mm,
It really feels like, because I think of power as like your fully expressed potential and finding your voice. Like, I remember one year I chose power as like my theme word for the year. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. And and I was so surprised at the resistance people had to me choosing power as a word. I was like,
mm,
oh, what about, yeah, that was, and it was like women that were like, oh, really? Ooh, why'd you pick that word? But I feel like it's, yeah, fully being ourselves, finding our voice, finding ways to influence in our own authentic way. I
mm,
think it is about being more of yourself and speaking your truth
mm,
and that kind of thing. That's how I think about power. And we're, you know, as a society, we're out of balance with that masculine feminine energy balance. We've, like, I recognize my own masculine traits of productivity, doing stuff, structured, achievement, like control, versus I'm trying to let my intuition guide me more, the collaborative nature, yeah, and find my own balance in me of the masculine and the feminine, because we need both. But
yes.
we've been really leaning into the masculine, and that's been hard. And I don't know that that's really working in the leadership we see.
I mean, yes, 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 and yes, right? I
Yeah.
absolutely, totally agree. And I think that I'm slightly intrigued, and I'd like to talk about this intuition piece
Oh,
because
yeah. Yeah.
I think that intuition is fascinating. And I also think that intuition is very important for coaches because
Hmm.
our intuition can hold or may hold important information and data for our clients. Right. So I think intuition is a really important thing. But I know that there are often for people, it can either be difficult to trust their intuition
Hmm.
or they don't know how to listen to their intuition. So I'm curious because I know we've talked about intuition before and your intuition,
Yeah.
trusting your intuition. So what would you share about, first of all, how do you hear it? How do you get to hear your intuition? And then
Hmm.
how do you learn to trust it?
Oh, those are big life lesson questions for sure. So I don't claim to have that all figured out like that's my precursor caveat. For me, two things. I feel like my intuition shows up like this little voice, like a whispering voice, and sometimes it gets louder, but it's usually it feels sometimes like a drop down one liner. So
Okay.
it and yeah, that. And then the other thing I've been practicing a lot over the last year is more somatics. Like I think my intuition is trying to express itself through my body. And
Mm.
so and I was really good at operating just, up here. Like what am I thinking about is and then it was kind of my heart. And actually my heart, so the question I ask myself to try to tap into my intuition is what does my heart tell me to do? And
Mm.
that when I asked, and I worked with a coach to figure that out. So if I ask that question and let that answer appear, that's my intuition speaking to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's a journey. It's a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the idea of having a way to almost set an intention for yourself that this is how this is the question I'm gonna pose in order to, let's say, activate my intuition.
Mhm.
Right? There's something
Mhm.
interesting in that, I think. I mean, somatics is this again. I want to say it's got to be the key, hasn't it? I mean, again, I'm no expert. I don't know, but I do feel like when I get in touch with my body and what's happening in my body, my intuition usually comes to the fore.
Mm.
And it's usually that kind of, I have like this sensation where I think, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like, it's right there. And I
Mm.
have to kind of trust myself to sort of spit it out almost, right? Just let it out, whatever that thing is that you think is just. Um,
Hmm.
and I think the biggest thing for me is that I can't, no, can't's the wrong word. I find it really hard to access my intuition indoors, sat at my desk.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
here in this space, I mean, not in the podcast space, but in this behind me, my office, I'm absolutely
Yeah.
here all the time.
Yeah.
But there's no space in my office for my body. So yeah,
Mm.
finding the right environment as well, right, to access. And then the more
Yeah.
you do it, the more you develop it and the more you, I guess, learn to trust it. Um, so I love that in coaching sometimes when, something bubbles and you think, where's that bubbling from? That's curious. And then you might choose to share it. And you kind of think, I don't know, I think there's something not being said here, or there's something not quite congruent or lining up. What's going on here? And then naming it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's something about trusting your intuition, noticing it, trusting it, and then the courage to put it out there.
Offer it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
offer it.
Offer it with no attachment and see. Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, sometimes I find in coaching, yeah, sometimes it's like, wow. And other times it's, the coach would be like, no. And like, that's okay.
that's okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And actually, do you know what? I
Yeah.
think that might be the same for us, personally as well, when we're tapping into our intuition, is that I wonder if this has only just come to me, but I was thinking, it'd be lovely to think of your intuition as your intuition is offering you something, and you can kind of go, maybe not right now, or that's
Mm.
curious, I could take that. I wonder if there's a choice, or whether it should be just do it and try it. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think what this conversation is, yeah, evoking for me is the reflective practice of looking, because now I can look in the rear view and see, like a couple of years ago, I was trying to grow my business and I see I was doing that in a way that really wasn't aligned for me with my strengths, even my values. And I look back and I remember at one point being in a meeting and my whole body was just like freaking out. And I actually blurted out, like, every cell in my body is telling me this is a no. Like, we need to stop what we're doing right now. It's not actually the right thing. And that, like, my brain was saying, do the thing, but my body was screaming at me. But I'd been ignoring it for so long, like it actually had to vibrate and freak out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
looking back, I can see, there was a lot of clues that I was on the wrong track and I wasn't listening. So I think that reflective practice is helpful to then prime the signals so that you'll recognize them sooner. That's my work to do. Is listen.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, listen to yourself, right? Listen to your body. Listen, there's so many nuances, isn't there, to our bodies, different sensations, different things happening. It's just,
Yeah.
and I sometimes so we do this a bit with kind of emotions, don't we? That whole kind of, well, what's the difference between happy and joyful, for example? Well, how does it
Mm,
feel different in my body, right? And sometimes the differences are so subtle that
mhm.
without the attention, the listening, and the reflection, you wouldn't necessarily notice that quite nuanced difference. Um, yeah, for sure.
It takes self-awareness, the concept of self-awareness to a whole nother level.
Mm,
I
mm,
think not just
totally.
self-awareness, like cognitively, like what are my strengths or what are my values, but like being really able to listen to yourself and
Mm,
understand yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That is a journey.
yeah. And actually, that's reminded me of something which I thought of before, and I thought I must speak to Diane about that when we're on the podcast,
Oh,
which was a post on LinkedIn, I think from a lady who had been on one of your midlife women webinars. And you will hope, maybe you'll remember her name so that we can credit her with the post. I should have checked before we started recording. But anyway, she posted a beautiful post with a little post-it note. I love a post-it note that said, self-awareness without self-compassion
oh,
equals self-cruelty.
yeah. Jessica
Yeah.
Griffin. Jessica
Jessica
Griffin
Griffin.
posted
Well,
that. Yeah.
if by any chance, Jessica Griffin, you are listening, thank you for that post.
What did that do for you, Melissa?
Well, it's kind of, again, it was one of those moments where I knew that, but in that moment when I read her little post-it note, I felt it. I
Mm,
felt it in my body, right? And I was very conscious all of a sudden of that sense of, we've mentioned it today, right? We talk a lot about self awareness. And certainly for me and you in our work, we talk a lot about self compassion.
hmm
And I was kind of assuming that it was obvious that you have to do both, right? Because otherwise, it's just not, it isn't work. You've got to be kind to yourself. So I was kind of, that's what it was. And then I thought, well, shoot, maybe it isn't, right? And people are out there being told, you must be self-aware, develop your self-awareness. Very important for leaders and coaches and all these, professions that we talk
hmm
about being important for. Oh, and by the way, there's this self-compassion thing as well. No, it's not a by the way. It's
No, yeah.
yeah. Otherwise, it's self-cruelty. I mean, that was a sucker punch for me.
That
Yeah.
it's so strong and visceral, isn't it?
Mm,
Self-cruelty. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. In the session that Jessica was in, I'm noticing that the theme of confidence for midlife women is really resonating. And there is, like, I listened to this podcast, there's this phenomenon called not feeling like myself. And
Mm,
that's what women will say to their doctor. I'm not feeling like myself, but it's
yep.
hard to put that equation, like what is that? Anyway, they're studying NFLM, not feeling like myself. So yeah. So this idea of, I think one of the gateways to confidence is self-awareness, like who am I? And then the middle step you haven't mentioned is, I think, self-acceptance. Like, okay, this is me. I'm going to stop trying to change myself, fix myself. I'm going to work with who I am and bring that forward. So
Mm,
self-awareness, self-acceptance, and then the self-compassion.
that's even better. I like that too.
I love that trifecta. Yeah. I think that's been my work, is
Mm,
to work on all three.
yeah. And I got to pick up on the self-acceptance thing, because I
Yeah.
think I love that. I'm taking that too, Diane.
You
Thank
take
you.
it. Take it and run with it.
I'm gonna run with that. I love it, because I think the self-acceptance thing is interesting, because it's immediately a little voice in my head, which I'm always curious about, the little voice in my head who says, you know, well, hang on a minute though. If we're talking about self-acceptance, that just gives you, or gives people, an excuse to be bad, or an excuse to not be, or not get better, or not improve, or
Mm.
right. There's that message for me
Mm-hmm.
that's in
Yeah.
there, right? That I've obviously been told at some point and tucked away.
Yeah.
I love this idea. When I think about self-acceptance now, it is absolutely about that I am who I am, right? And I no longer want to change who I fundamentally am, and certainly not because someone else tells me I should.
Mm-hmm.
But self-acceptance is not about saying, well, that's it, I'm done. All the good bits, all the bad bits, then, well, that's it. For me, it is still about growth, but it's growth from a completely different place, because
Yeah.
it's a place of worthiness. I am already
Yeah.
worthy. I am
Yeah.
already worthy of love and belonging. That's there. And
Yeah.
now we're building on that, right? Versus the kind of, when we come from a place of we're not worthy, right? That's, yeah, not good. So yeah,
Yeah.
self.
I think you're um, hitting on that, and I don't know where the social programming comes from, but
Mm,
that programming of, oh, if I'm not being hard on myself, I'm not going to succeed or achieve. Like I have to beat myself up in order to, yeah, be successful.
yeah.
Rather than, oh, I could actually, like this is sparking a lot for me in this moment. I really think Kristen Neff's work on self-compassion, her second book, Fierce
Yeah.
Self-Compassion,
Mhm.
was my penny drop of, oh, that's actually the access to courage. Like if I'm gentle with myself when I'm being brave, and I have made a lot of mistakes in my courage journey, and that's okay. But if I beat myself up every time I make a mistake or try something and it doesn't work, I'm going to stop being brave. I'm not going to keep going. But if I know I'll be kind to myself, my coach calls it the anti-bullying policy. Like, do you have an anti-bullying policy for yourself? Like,
Ooh, I love
yeah,
I love that.
I, yeah, Stacy gets credit for that. And yeah, it was huge because yeah, if I can not bully myself while I'm being brave, anything's possible, really.
Totally. And I think the whole thing around kind of confidence, courage, and confidence. I've been asked the question several times by different people around. Which comes first? Is it confidence, then
Mm,
courage, and confidence, and all this kind of. I know for me, what I've learnt. And actually, I think I've relearnt it. I think I knew this as a child. I think I lost it in kind of late teens, maybe 20s and early 30s. And then I relearned it, if that makes sense, which is that um, I think confidence comes from courage. So, because the courage is the courage to give it a go, to
uh-huh.
try, to experiment, to maybe get it wrong, to risk failing, to risk falling. Um, and but knowing that there's a little bit, you gain a little bit from that each time. And then at some point it's kind of like, oh, actually this doesn't feel like courage anymore, right? This just feels like
Mm,
something I do, something I'm good at. It's like, oh, actually I feel really confident now. So that's sort of how I see the kind of relationship. Courage is enabling you to take that first step in, and then one step more and one step more. And that's how I certainly have built confidence. But I think also as a now, when I step into the courage and it does fall, I fall, or it fails, or it's embarrassing or shame inducing. I've now got the skills to go, oh, okay, but that's okay, right? That's okay. I can still get up, dust myself off, and try
hmm.
again. Whereas I think maybe even, well, pre Dare to Lead, so not that long, 5, 6 years ago, I
5 years,
think I'd
yeah.
have gone, I'm not okay. I tried, it didn't work. No, not going there again. But at least I
Yeah.
tried once. now I'm like, okay, none of this is world ending. So can you just keep
Yeah.
going? And that's the kindness piece, right? You've got this. You're okay. You are already worthy. I say that to myself a lot. You are
Mm,
already
mm.
worthy. Yeah, so important. So important.
That's so good. That's a good mantra. As you were just talking about that too, I think, gosh, every entrepreneur should take a courage building program, because what an arena that is, entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, or building a bricks and mortar. It's just, what a rumble it
Yeah,
is.
absolutely. Constantly, right? It feels I had this experience recently where I was just a little bit like, oh, just please just stop. Just can I just have one? It felt like, I mean, I was exaggerating as we often do, but I was like, can I just have one day
Yeah.
where I can just be comfortable and revel and not be in this constant kind of courage and having to be vulnerable and it's like this is
Yeah.
so yeah, you're right, running a business in any form, being an entrepreneur, solopreneur, whatever it is you say, it
You
is
just gave me an idea. Maybe we should designate one day of the week to be our comfort day. Like one
comfort.
day where we could
Yeah,
have just be comfortable, and then stretch ourselves the other 4 days of the week or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we could market that. I think that could work.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Totally. Totally. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, Diane, it's been amazing talking to you, as I knew it would be, and as I
Yeah,
knew
this was
we'd,
great.
go all over the place
Yeah.
and find lots of different things to talk about. We've got such a lot of common ground, haven't we? Because we've shared
Hmm.
this journey together, which has been really valuable
And
and
it brought
important.
us together, Dare to Lead. So grateful for that.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. Because I'd have never met you. You're all the way over there in
No.
Canada. We would never have even known each other were on the planet. So fated,
Yeah.
clearly, definitely.
Yes, indeed.
Now, Diane, I always like to close with the same question. So my final question is, what's the one thing that you would like every coach to know about courage?
It's hard to just be one thing. Uh, I might sneak in more than one. Even after having this conversation, I think courage is the door opener to so much possibility. And so, it really is an essential lever, for coaches. Essential,
Mm,
game changing, essential. And to what you acknowledged earlier, or I think we both agree, and we have to model the courage. We have to do our own courage building work to
mm.
be a courageous coach. It's not like it's not a cognitive learn and support others with. If we're not on the journey too, there's just no integrity in it. So yeah, it's a game changer. It's the gateway, and it's the gift you give yourself too.
Yeah, I love that. The gift you give yourself. Well, Diane, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll share all the details of Diane's what's the program called, Diane?
It's
Remind
called
me.
Inspiring Midlife Leadership.
Inspiring Midlife Leadership. Thank you. We will share all the details of that in the show notes. So go connect with Diane on LinkedIn, and
Yeah,
particularly if you're
please
a
do.
midlife woman, to be fair, right? I definitely would recommend connecting on LinkedIn at the very least.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well,
Thank you.
take care, everyone. Thank you so much, Diane. See you all soon.
Thank you, Melissa.
Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Coach podcast. I hope it gave you something to reflect on, something to feel, and maybe even something to act on. If you've been nodding along or feeling that tug of recognition, you're not alone. These conversations are here to remind us that courage isn't about having it all figured out. It's about showing up, doing the inner work, and being willing to be seen, even when it feels uncomfortable. If that sounds like the kind of coaching journey you want to go deeper into, I'd love to invite you to check out the Courageous Coach program. It's designed especially for qualified coaches in the early years of building their independent practice. Those who want to coach with more courage, clarity, and humanity, and grow a business that truly reflects who they are. You'll find all the details over on my website, and I've popped the link in the show notes to make it easy for you. And if we're not already connected, come and find me on LinkedIn. Whether you've got questions about the program, want to share what's resonated for you in this episode, or you just fancy a chat. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow or subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you know another coach who might need a little courage boost, pass it on. Courage is contagious, after all. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, stay curious, stay human, and keep choosing courage.